Well, thank you so much, President Jahanian, for that very warm introduction. It's an incredible honor to be here with all of you today. Over the years, I have found many kindred spirits in your community, several of which have been part of the Khan Academy team. I'm also excited, we're going to make a little announcement, that on Monday we'll publicly announce a partnership between Carnegie Mellon and Schoolhouse.World, a sister nonprofit to Khan Academy that provides free live tutoring over Zoom via vetted and trained volunteers. Together, we're launching, yes, clap. Together, we're launching a program through the Leonard Gelfand Center for Service Learning and Outreach that empowers Carnegie Mellon students to tutor high school students from around the world in math and earn college credit for it. We're building even more bridges. Starting this fall, Carnegie Mellon will begin recognizing Schoolhouse.World portfolios, which include academic certifications and tutoring accolades, as part of the undergraduate admission process. This is a way for anyone on the planet, from a young woman in Afghanistan who doesn't have access to traditional credentials, to an inner city student in America who is teaching themselves calculus on Khan Academy, to prove what they know and gain admission to top universities like this one. And a lot of credit to the leadership at Carnegie Mellon. I've pitched these ideas to many places, but this place is actually executing, so huge kudos. As President Jahanian mentioned, I had a great conversation with some of you graduates over Zoom a couple of weeks ago, and I think I got a sense of where your hopes and fears are. Based on that, I'm hoping to share a few ideas or themes that can be of use in your adventures to come. The first and most fundamental theme, and actually some of the previous speakers have already touched on this, is to develop your own sense of what gives you joy and meaning, not ones projected on you by culture, marketing, friends, or family. We are all very impressionable, more so than we usually admit to ourselves. That is why there are billions of marketing dollars spent every year to convince us that our lives would be awesome if we just serve the right beverage, wear the right clothes, and drive the right car. There are lists of the richest or most influential people. 24-hour news obsesses on heads of states and CEOs. Magazines focus on the looks, wealth, and fame of celebrities. Our social media feeds are full of our friends' promotion announcements and beautiful family vacations. All of this collectively programs our minds to imagine what success looks like and what we might want to pursue to make us happy. Some of this is natural and even reasonable in moderation. It is easier to measure and compare things that can be quantified. Net worth, GPA, degrees, papers published, square footage, social media following, awards won. We are social animals, and it is baked into our psyches to care what others think of us. I definitely do. Some level of material comfort and recognition is important. It is stressful if you can't make ends meet, or you feel underappreciated or taken for granted. Money and credibility can also be tools to make an impact. Neither Carnegie Mellon nor Khan Academy would exist without philanthropists who have used their wealth to support causes they care about. But beyond a point, there are diminishing returns for what money and recognition alone do directly for your happiness. Meaning and contentment, which are arguably what we should care about, are much harder to quantify. There is no Forbes list of the 500 happiest people on Earth. If there were, I suspect that many of them would be people we've never heard of, but they would all generally have an amazing community of friends and family, feel valued, have solid health that allows them to be active outdoors, and feel a strong sense of purpose and creative expression, likely by giving joy and support to others. They probably laugh a lot, experience awe and wonder at the mystery of the universe, tend to see the glass half full and don't take themselves too seriously. Most would likely have a base level of financial security, but I suspect a good number would have far less material wealth than many of us. I am not suggesting that you shouldn't aim high in the traditional sense. If anything, I think you should aim higher than any group that has ever lived. However, understand that wealth, power, and influence are a means to a greater end, maximizing your positive impact on yourself, your loved ones, and the world, not ends in themselves that overshadow what truly matters. Your happiness will not be driven by them. Some of you already have a pretty good sense of how you'd like to impact the world, but you might not know how to manifest it. For most of you, it will be a process of discovery. The important thing is to be as self-aware as possible of where you derive meaning. If someone told me this when I was in your seats, I would have been a little skeptical. I would have thought, impact and meaning sounds nice, but I have real worries. I have college loans to pay. I don't know if my academic success will translate to career success. The world can wait while I put my head down and establish myself. And I wouldn't have been wrong, which takes me to the second theme. Keep chipping away while being comfortable with the tensions in life. For example, between the realistic and the aspirational, or the joyful and the hard. We tend to avoid tension, but it is actually healthy to embrace it. Every adventure has a perceived trade-off between the safe and the risky. Every journey has moments of discomfort, stress, and uncertainty. If you persist, you'll see the pattern that most of these moments of tension resolve as long as you thoughtfully keep trying to move forward. You don't run away from discomfort, and you run through doors of opportunity that will inevitably crack open through luck, hard work, and staying in the game. Over time, you'll make more progress than you thought possible as long as, once again, you keep trying to move forward. Thoughtful inaction is often the wisest way to go, but don't get paralyzed by indecision or fear. Avoidance will lead to the worst outcomes. Early in your career, you should be willing to put your head down, build your skills, make yourself useful to others, start saving some money, and establish yourself. But over the long term, don't take for granted the importance of your health, relationships, community, and having outlets for your passions. As you build up your resources and skills while investing in the people you care about in your dreams, you may see that the tension between the realistic and the aspirational can get resolved. Once again, if you stay focused on what truly matters to you. For me, one of the most difficult times of my life was the year after I graduated. From almost the first day of work at a big tech company, exactly 3 days after graduation, I felt a very real tension. Industry didn't operate with the same intellectual rigor or idealism I'd found in school. Interactions in the workplace felt transactional and shallow compared to the late-night, deep, or silly conversations with classmates in dorm hallways. It wasn't obvious to me that anything I did really mattered. I felt like a cog in a big machine that frankly might have a surplus of cogs. I had so much hope and energy, but I just didn't know where to point it. I missed my friends. I missed engaging in big ideas. I was worried that I was squandering my youth, neither having a ton of fun nor being on the fast track to making my dent in the universe. I tell you all this not to scare you, but to validate what you might feel soon. That sensation that despite all your education, intellect, creativity, and opportunities, something feels off, that you're not fulfilling your potential or living your best life. Fortunately, I did keep chipping away. After joining a few failed startups and taking shelter from the dot-com bust back in 2000 by going to business school, I switched careers and found myself at a 2-person hedge fund, after getting rejected by about 30 hedge funds before that. I was prepared to put my head down and work 60 or 70 hours a week to prove myself, but I got lucky. On the second day of work, after the markets closed, my boss, Dan, told me to go home. I said, "Yes, Dan, I will work from home." He said, "No, Sal, our job as investors is to make a few good decisions a year and avoid a bunch of bad ones. You should rest and have other interests. That will make you a more creative investor, and you'll avoid falling into the trap of overanalysis or getting attached to your positions." Dan's push gave me the time and space to offer tutoring help to my 12-year-old cousin Nadia when she needed it 21 years ago. Word spread in the family that free tutoring was going on, and I ended up working with 5 to 10 cousins and family friends. I began to fiddle with software and videos for them to provide extra support. Before I knew it, people who are not my cousins were using the resources. People from all over the world began sending me incredible stories of how the nascent Khan Academy was helping them. Dan was right. Having space in my life for my family and passions allowed me to bring more energy, not less, and more creativity to my investment work. The world even converged in 2007 when I started making Khan Academy videos explaining capital markets. I still remember the letter from an investment banker who told me, "Thank you so much for the video on mortgage-backed securities. I now know what I do for a living." Those of you who are old enough might recognize there was a bit of foreshadowing, but it felt great to be needed. But soon, this project began to tug hard on my mindshare. A few VCs came out of the woodwork and even offered funding for me to quit my day job and set up Khan Academy as a for-profit. But this was one of those moments where recognizing what truly gave me joy and meaning was essential. I appreciate financial comfort as much as anyone. After all, I was working at a hedge fund, which is about as for-profit as it gets. But I already recognized that I got much more meaning from a random person halfway across the world telling me how I had helped them than any bonus check. A home run as a for-profit would be to get acquired or go public. Nothing wrong with that, and many for-profits, some of which you will start, will create huge benefits for us all. But I, and as one guy in a walk-in closet, perhaps a little bit delusionally, thought that a home run for a not-for-profit Khan Academy might be even more epic. It would be to create a new type of institution that could persist for generations and serve millions, if not billions of people. Perhaps it could accelerate learning outcomes in traditional classrooms, while also being a safety net for the billions who don't have access to education at all. And this takes us to the last and final theme I hope to share. Be optimistic and bold. Yes, there is a lot to worry about in the world. The state of democracy, polarization, global conflicts. The biggest wild card is artificial intelligence. It will cause economic displacement. It is already driving fraud and misinformation. It may even pose a threat to our freedom and security. But given your gifts and place in the world, you're in a position to not just observe how things play out, but to shape it. AI and other technologies are neither good nor evil. They amplify human intent. Fire can be used to destroy or to keep warm. Knives can be used to harm or to craft. Likewise, AI can amplify the negative intent of crooks, or it can amplify the positive intent of artists, researchers, policymakers, and educators. Whether it drives us to a more dystopian or a more utopian world isn't a flip of a coin. It depends on what you, people with creativity, intellect, credibility, and positive intent, do with it. And there are far, far more good people in the world than bad. If we collectively lean in and take action, there's a lot to be excited about. You are the ones who can guide how this technology shapes our future, not just as technologists, but as scientists, policymakers, artists, entrepreneurs, educators, and citizens. I often cite Isaac Asimov's Foundation series. How many of you have read the Foundation series, Isaac? Okay, a few. All right, now you know what you're doing next weekend. Which I first read in 7th grade as something of an inspiration for Khan Academy. I'm not giving away the story, this is just the premise. The foundation takes place 30,000 years in the future. Humanity has colonized the galaxy under the rule of a centralized empire. An academic, Harry Seldon, pioneers a new field of study that can statistically predict large-scale historic change. It shows him that the empire will soon enter a phase of decline with a 10,000-year dark age, 10,000 years of lost knowledge, disease, war, and famine. His science shows that it can't be stopped, but it could be shortened. To do so, he sets up a foundation to collect and disseminate the galaxy's knowledge, culture, and technology to shorten those dark ages to 1,000 years. Even in middle school, I was inspired by the idea of doing things on that scale, and it helped me appreciate that a civilization is not defined by armies, statues, or pillared buildings, but by what goes on in people's heads, knowledge, ideas, and norms. This is a moment for all of you to think in similarly epic terms. You're graduating from Carnegie Mellon. You will have more tools and opportunities than 99.9% of the people who have ever lived on this planet. Yes, you will face many moments of frustration and rejection, but these are part of the adventure. So build yourself up, secure your foundation, reflect on and invest in what gives you meaning, keep chipping away through the ups and the downs, and recognize that you are living in an epic science fiction story, one that will change the course of history, and you have the chance to write a better ending. Congratulations, class of 2025, onward!